Leo, this is Lauren from Etheric Tide, back with your July 2020 Tarotscope. I'm going to have a look at some of the energies that are going to be coming up for you in July. It was a very interesting June, wasn't it? Now we've got Mercury in retrograde. Yay! No, I mean it. It's actually a good thing. It is. I tell you what, like, my words have been fumbling all over the place. That's okay. Mercury retrograde is amazing when it comes to reevaluating. And kind of having a look at like each of the signs and what each of you guys are going to be reevaluating in July. Just like what Mercury is going to be dredging. Just happens every retrograde. My mouth just brain mouth no workies. Like, yeah. It's kind of fun. Kind of mix words together. I'll go to, you know how like you go to say a sentence, but then halfway through you say a different way of saying that sentence and you mush it together? Yeah. That's me. Okay. What's Leo gonna be reevaluating during July? Oh, nice. Well, I'll tell you what. All the signs so far have been about money. And this is no different. Lots of pentacles are showing up. So for you, it's going to be reevaluating independence. So, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're in a partnership or not. This is my Virgo card. It is to, and it's also my single lady. And you know, it doesn't matter what gender you are. You can be a single lady or a single guy. Incredibly independent and you know, looking after your own stuff, you know? You go to work and you get your own money and you go get it, you know? You have your own car and you're paying your bills. That's what you do. That's what the Nine of Pentacles is. Look at her. She's like, look at all my money behind me. I've just been like, my gorgeous robe, just chilling with my parrot and counting my pentacles, you know? She's got it sorted. So I think what's coming up for you guys is there's this little bit of a struggle between, can I maintain my independence within a relationship? And I think for those of you who are single, are like, I can't have both. I can't be single and independent and be able to support myself. And maybe some of you have been struggling in previous relationships where one or the other is dependent financially on the other, and you don't want that. You're kind of like, oh, I don't want to financially depend on them, and I don't want them to financially depend on me. Like, I kind of want us to both be like independently financially and like really owning that I can look after myself type attitude. And this could be because you've seen it happen or it's happened to you where one or the other has financially depended on the other and it didn't turn out well for you. And you're like, I don't want that to happen. I kind of want us to have like separate bank accounts and their money to be their money and my money to be my money. And there's kind of that fear around joining assets. So I think that's what's coming up for you guys, is being single, independent guy or gal. All right. I think, yeah, you're pretty set. You're pretty set in your ways on this particular thing. Oof, okay. So, we got like our Five of Wands. Fives are kind of like combativeness, you know? And I think like this is also kind of like defense as well. I think what Spirit is bringing up here is, I think you need to let go of some of the defensiveness that is around that independence. As in, I think you probably have gotten yourself to a point that you have built in too many walls. As in, I know that being strong and independent is a great thing, and I think when it comes to being in partnership in particular, finding some sort of independence from each other, as in you're individuals that are growing and have your own goals that you set independent of each other. I think that if you take it too far, it becomes like I can do it on my own and I'm not going to let you in. And the whole point of being within a relationship is kind of, I explained it to someone that when it comes to relationships, you have three things. You have an individual, and then the relationship. As in, you have two people who are independent, who do have like two different like lives that they are both living and growing through, but their focus is on the third energetic thing. It's almost like a being unto itself, and that's the relationship. And you guys are building that together. And so, although I do want to recognize that you are right, it's important that you do have your own independence and you are growing as an individual and not becoming so dependent on the other one for happiness or emotional support or just support in general. That should be coming from you, but the most incredible thing about being in a relationship is what you're growing together at the same time. And I think that if you become too defensive, that you're going to block yourself from being able to really bask in the joy of that creation, because you're co-creating something. You're co-creating a relationship with someone and a life with someone. And I'd hate for you to be able to miss out on that because you're so scared of becoming too dependent on them or them becoming too dependent on you. There has to be some sort of vulnerability there. Yeah, okay. And this is what you're afraid of. You're afraid that they are going to take advantage and walk away. That if you give too much, that that they're pretty much gonna take what's yours, or you're gonna be the one that loses out in the end, because that's what's happened to you in the past. So actually I'll grab one more. Just want a little bit of clarity. Alright, yeah. Alright, so I mean this is I associate with this as Leo, the sun, but she's come in reverse. I think that you don't believe that you can find full happiness by blending with another person. I think that you've probably been burned a couple of times, and it's kind of like, okay, I was naive and too trusting, and I gave away too much, and I depended on them too much, and in order for me to be happy, I have to be either completely single. I mean, some of you may even be going through that process of like, in order for me to find my happiness, I actually have to like remain single. And maybe you're deciding not to date at all because you feel like you lose yourself within the relationship. I think it's naivety and vulnerability are not the same thing. You know, just because you're opening up to the idea of blending and creating with someone doesn't mean that you're being naive. And I think that if you go in with the intention that the person is going to take more than you give, take more than they give back to you, then you probably will get yourself vibrationally in a place where you will attract someone who is going to play out that same cycle for you again and again. All right. Ooh. Okay. So this is your oracle card for the month of July. This is amplify your positive emotions. And when it comes to positive emotions, I think more so they're trying to change your thought patterns around money, around relationships, around independence and interdependence. I think that if you're saying things to yourself like, I cannot, the people that I attract, I always attract ones that take more than they give. So if that's what you're saying to yourself, then that's what you're resonating at, and you definitely will attract people who will take more than they give. And I think because when they show up, it will be so familiar to you that you will, if you don't catch it, you're just going to revert back to like all of the old patterns that you would play out. With them, you probably will get stuck in a pattern that you don't like, that you're going to realize that you hate, like, oh my goodness, I've got myself in that same position where I'm the one that's giving way too much and they're depending way too much on me, and that makes me feel uncomfortable. So for you, I think that you're going to have a look at finding that balance between being vulnerable but also independent at the same time. And that's your reading for July, dear Leo. If you would like a reading, the details are down below. Please like, comment and subscribe, and thank you so much for any of the good karma donations. I do appreciate it. Thanks guys, have a great July.